Thank you for being patient while we dealt with a few technical difficulties. We will now call the meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Provo City Municipal Council. It is Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023, and the time is 5:37 p.m. The councilors that we have with us today are George Handley, Shannon Ellsworth, Dave Shipley, Rachel Whipple, Travis Hoban, and Catrice McKay and Bill Fillmore are excused. We'd also like to recognize that we have the mayor here with us. Thank you. All right. We will go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. That will be provided by Councilor Travis Hoban.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nope. All right. We're going to start by letting you know about public comments. Do we have the right screen for that? Thank you. As indicated on the screen, a required public hearing will be held for certain agenda items prior to council action. After each such item has been presented, time to comment will be provided for all those who wish to speak. For items that do not require a public hearing, public comment will still be taken following presentation of the item, but it will be limited to 10 minutes. At this time, up to 15 minutes have been set aside for an open public comment period, which is intended to allow comment on matters that do not appear on the agenda. Persons who speak during this time to an item that is on the agenda will not normally be afforded a second opportunity to speak during the comment period specific to that item. During any public comment period, each speaker will generally be limited to 2 minutes. Due to noticing requirements, no formal action will be taken in this meeting on matters that do not appear on the agenda. Those with comments are invited to approach the podium. Those participating on Zoom will need to use the raise hand feature to indicate that they wish to comment. The chair may choose to alternate between in-person and online commenters. Please begin your comment by stating your name and city of residence. You will have 2 minutes to speak. So, if anyone wants to speak, you can come on up.
Hello, my name is Violet Fale. I am in 2nd grade at Westridge Elementary School, and thank you so much for your hard working. I love Provo. I love Provo. Provo is a great place to live. 3 things about Provo is my school, the rec center, soccer, and especially BYU and Cosmo. You guys have to for your hard work. I love you, Provo, and I also love you, City Council, and you, Mayor Kafusi. I am proud that I live in Provo.
Violet, thank you so much. Can we clap? I just want to tell Violet that you did a good job. A lot of times when adults come up to do public comment, they get scared and a little nervous, but they are not always as prepared as you were. You did a very good job writing out your comments beforehand. Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? That's hard to follow. Okay. All right, I see no more public comment and I don't see any comment online. So we will go ahead and close the public comment period. Thank you very much. All right, going on to our first agenda item. We have that Provo City is being awarded the October 2023 Business of the Month. This will be presented by Curtis Blair, the President and CEO of the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Blair, come up to the microphone and speak into it to tell us what you want to tell us
Wonderful.
first.
Well, thank you for having us here, Madam Chair. And I'd like to bring Abby, if I may, a point of small privilege, who chairs our ambassador group and actually has the award, and will share a few thoughts about why we give this award and why Provo is so deserving.
Absolutely. So
First, your name.
Abby Carter,
Thank you.
and I'm an ambassador of the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce. And each month we get together and we talk about businesses and organizations in Utah Valley that have a positive effect on not only our chamber, but on the community. And we've talked numerous times about Provo City and all that you guys contribute to this valley and to our chamber. And so we've decided to nominate and award Business of the Month for October to Provo City. So.
I don't know that we've ever given a city a Business of the Month award, but if there were such a moment, this is the right time. I believe that as goes Provo, so goes Utah County. And as goes Utah County, so goes the state. And as goes the state, based on what we've seen, even today, from our federal and national leaders, I hope that as goes Utah, we can influence the nation for good. And that's a lot of weight. That's a lot of responsibility on you, on us, on the mayor, and it takes a full court, all-in effort. We want you to know how grateful we are to partner with Provo as a chamber to lift all those that are engaged in public and private efforts to make this place the best place to live, work, learn, and play. We applaud Mayor's leadership. You would think that leadership is someone that is assertive and can make decisions quick and feels, that they're articulate and can make their point quickly. But we have a mayor whose leadership resides in other attributes and characteristics, including those, but more especially a collaborator, someone who listens well, someone who's not afraid to do the work and would never ask someone to do something that she isn't willing to do herself. That, to me, is leadership, and that's why this award is so timely. So thank you for letting the chamber be a part of your meetings today, and thank you for the work that you do on behalf of our city and our community, our state, and God willing, our nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's clap for that because that was really nice, and I agree with everything you said about our mayor. Picture.
A little
I wasn't
op.
sure
Yeah.
if Mayor Kafusi
Afterwards.
wanted. Oh,
They got-
after.
yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Photo op.
photo up. Okay, everybody, photo up. Let's go.
We have Mayor and Isaac and your team and the council right at the center.
I guess I do. Yes, I'll be right here with this.
You want to put your might not ever get that.
All right. Get on with yours over the top. I promise. Let's have everybody look. Congratulations. Thank you. So.
That's the thing. That is it.
I just think it's only appropriate to say that, again, this has nothing to do with me. It has more to do with the council and mostly with the workers of the city. These recognitions are all due to the hard work of, including part-time, our over 1,400 employees and staff, and the decisions the council makes, the budget the council decides on, all those things contribute to making Provo the great city it is. And according to our sweet little Violet, we're going to keep going because of little comments like her make our jobs all worth it. So thank you, council, and thank you to all the employees in the city and everyone who makes Provo City the business of the month of October. And thank you, Chamber. It's so much fun to partner with the Chamber and work with them closely. They're doing amazing things in the county. So thank you.
Yeah, I think we're really fortunate that we have the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce. They're able to work with the city on several different things, including local businesses, but also nonprofits and other things. They've been a really good asset to us. And it's wonderful that we have a good working relationship and that we can appreciate the contributions that each other make to the city, to the valley, to our businesses, and to ultimately everybody who lives here. So thank you. We'll now move on to the annual Justice Court presentation. So Judge Vernon Romney, would you please come up? Oh, apparently I need to add the announcement, Your Honor,
Okay,
that you will be retiring.
I was going to say that, but that's okay.
You're going to say that. Okay, I will let you say that. We will forget that I spoiled that for you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to give this my final annual report to the Provo City on the Provo City Justice Court to this group today. It's my last report. My wife and I, Yvonne and I, have been called on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to serve in the South America Northwest area office. I'll be an associate area legal counselor. Given that assignment, I'll be retiring in mid-December and we'll be leaving for our mission in mid-February. It's been a signal honor for me during my career to work for Provo City. 22 years in the city attorney's office, the last 16 years as the Provo City Municipal Justice Court judge. I've been able to work with some of the finest people that I've ever known, and I've developed friendships with so many of them beyond our working relationship. Working for Provo City has been the highlight of my professional life. I'm grateful to be here this evening with Rhiannon Newton, our tremendous court administrator. As you can imagine, it takes a lot of skill to keep a busy municipal court running efficiently. Rhiannon has managed our court with professionalism for many years. She has the trust and the confidence of all the court employees. I'm grateful that Jim Peters, Justice Court Administrator for the state, for the Administrative Office of the Courts, is here. Appreciate all that he has done to increase and encourage professionalism among the justice courts. We have a dedicated and very competent staff in the court, and they work hard and efficiently each day to serve our court customers. As you can imagine, most of our customers don't want to be there, and many of them are nervous and anxious about what makes them be there. There may be a defendant in a criminal case. They may be a witness. They may be someone who's received a zoning complaint, somebody who's received a traffic citation, or someone supporting a loved one who may be a victim. Our staff members know the anxiousness and the nervousness with which many of our customers approach the court, and they work hard to help alleviate their feelings of stress and anxiety through their efficient and compassionate service to the public. Last year, I reported at length about alterations to court operations that had occurred as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Those changes included the requirements to conduct arraignments, pretrial and other hearings, and trials through remote systems like Zoom or WebEx. Virtual court hearings became commonplace across the country and in Utah, but solving cases remotely came with challenges, which I spoke of last year. I reported that after weighing the benefits and the burdens of our remote court hearings, our Justice Court, consistent with the most recent administrative order from the Utah Supreme Court and Judicial Council, determined that it was best for the public the best for the public that we serve and best for the court to schedule our court proceedings, including arraignments, pretrials, trials, sentencing hearings, and motion hearings as live in-court hearings. We do allow for remote hearings in exceptional circumstances, including illness and distance from the court for those that we can accommodate that way. And we set aside an hour each morning for those hearings. But I'm pleased to report that most of our cases resolve more quickly when our hearings are live in court. We avoid issues with technological difficulties. We eliminate many issues with the constitutional rights to confront and cross-examine witnesses. We can make a better record of proceedings when we hold live court hearings, and we can better preserve the safety and security of those proceedings. During my years as a prosecutor, and particularly my years as a judge, I've learned some things about what a judge does. Maybe it's best to start with what a judge doesn't do. Even though a judge works for the government, he or she is not a law enforcement officer. A judge is not a prosecutor or a defense attorney. Judges don't arrest people or try to prove them guilty. Judges are like baseball umpires or football referees. Their role is to see that the rules of the court, procedure, and evidence are followed by both sides. Like the umpire or referee, judges call them as they see them, according to the facts and the law, without regard to which side is more popular or what the spectators want, and without regard to whether the judge agrees with the law. The judge interprets the law, assesses the evidence presented, controls how hearings and trials proceed in their courtroom. Judges are impartial decision makers in pursuing justice. In our adversarial system of justice, legal cases are contests between opposing sides, and this ensures that the evidence and legal arguments are fairly presented. The judge, however, remains above the fray, and the judge provides an independent and impartial assessment of the facts and how to apply the law to the facts. Many cases are heard with the judge sitting without a jury. In those cases, the judge is the trier of fact and decides whether the evidence is credible and which witnesses are telling the truth. Then the judge applies the law to the facts to determine whether there is proof beyond a reasonable doubt in a criminal case and whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty. In a civil case, the judge determines whether a claim has been established by a preponderance of the evidence. In cases in which criminal defendants are convicted, the judge determines what their sentences will be given statutory guidelines. Over the years, I've learned that being a judge involves more than applying the law. A judge needs to understand how his or her decisions affect the people whose cases are being decided. I've learned that a judge deals with difficult people, and a judge needs to remain calm and listen to what is said in the courtroom. A judge must have humility, particularly since the judge, as a human being, makes occasional errors. A judge should accept assistance from the attorneys, staff, and others. A judge should have self-awareness and realize that should realize that he or she is not infallible. And a judge should have a sense of humor and a sense of proportion. Not every issue in a case is of equal magnitude, and not every issue is critical. A judge should be able to distinguish between the essential and the non-essential. And there is an appropriate place in the courtroom for humor, and a judge should recognize the value of humor. I think you would be interested to know that in some statistics for the last fiscal year ending on June 30th of 2023, for the state of Utah in general, and for the Provo City Justice Court in particular. During fiscal year 2023, there were 410,158 cases filed in the justice courts in the state of Utah. Of those, 57,440 were misdemeanor criminal violations, 14,603 were small claims cases, and 338,115 were traffic violation cases. In our Provo City Justice Court during this same fiscal year, there were 1,723 misdemeanor criminal cases filed, 1,458 small claims cases filed, and 4,819 traffic violation cases filed, for a total of 8,000 cases. Our mental health court program, a problem-solving court, has been in operation since our court was founded in 2007. It's been effective in helping those with mental illness resolve their cases and has greatly reduced repeat offenses with those defendants. We have a dedicated domestic violence calendar, which has been beneficial in helping with the resolution of these types of cases, bringing together defendants, their attorneys, prosecutors, victim advocates, and service providers to handle these cases in a better and more effective manner. We've continued our collaboration with Brigham Young University and having students at BYU serve as interns in our court. They help see that defendants are listen to a constitutional rights video, fill out court forms, contact their attorneys, and get to the courtroom on time for their hearings. This past summer, we've also had a great collaborative experience with social psychology class taught at BYU by Dr. Chelsea Romney. Full disclosure, she's my daughter-in-law, and I'm very proud of her and all that she's doing there at BYU. Class members conducted court customer satisfaction surveys, particularly measuring access to court and fairness of court proceedings. At the end of my remarks, Dr. Romney and her students will review their project and its findings with you. During these last 16 and a half years, I have tried my level best to be a good judge and a fair judge. I've tried to listen to those court participants in front of me and give them a fair opportunity to be heard. I've tried to be impartial and to apply the law to the facts. I've not been perfect as a judge, but in the main, I think I've succeeded, and that's in great measure because of the wonderful people with whom I've worked. Thank you for this opportunity of a professional lifetime to be the Provo City Municipal Justice Court judge. Thank you very much. Thanks so much. Turn the time to Dr. Romney.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. We truly appreciate your work all this time. Thank you.
Hi, I'm the daughter-in-law in question. I'm Dr. Chelsea Romney. I'm a professor of psychology at Brigham Young University, and I'm thrilled to tell you about a project that my students from the spring term social psychology course conducted at the Provo City Court. So I'd love to introduce the student that will be providing this presentation for today. This is a psychology major at BYU. He's from South Texas, and his name is Andrew Moss. Welcome.
Hello, members of the council. I'm very grateful for the opportunity I have to address you all today. As Dr. Romney mentioned, I'm Andrew Moss. I'm also grateful. The other students who passed out those surveys to you are Sydney Christensen and Andrew Bodley. They've been working with me on this project. And we, as Dr. Romney mentioned, we were part of her social introduction to social psychology class. We were able to learn principles of how society works and how groups interact. And as part of that, we were able to work with Judge Romney in the Provo City Justice Court on a research study. And that is a picture of all of us. As you can see, Judge Romney and Dr. Romney are right there at the front, as well as all of the students and the teaching assistants that participated in this study. BYU's had a focus on experiential learning opportunities in recent years, and we were the beneficiaries of this. We were able to take the principles that we learned in the classroom and to apply them to the real world, to interact with members of the community and to understand more about their daily lives and more about the problems that they faced. Because a courtroom can be a very intimidating experience. As Judge Romney mentioned, it can bring a lot of feelings of nervousness and anxiety, especially for people who don't quite know how the court system works or who don't understand what the proceedings are going to look like. That was true for a lot of us in the classroom. None of us had ever visited the Provo City Justice Court before. And so finding it and navigating through it and finding the courtroom and understanding what was happening in the proceedings was a bit of a task at some times. And we weren't even the ones who were on trial. And so it's essential that we make sure that the court customers feel that they are having a good experience and that they are understood here at the courtroom. So the study that we administered to them as they finished with their court business was a nationally validated study survey that is published and produced by the National Center for State Courts. This was a study survey that Judge Romney had used previously in his courtroom to be able to quantify the access that court customers felt they had to the court's resources, as well as their perceived fairness of the proceedings. As you can see, a couple of the items that are explained for access to define it are, for instance, finding the courthouse was easy. The forms I needed were clear and easy to understand. And other items, such as I was able to get my court business done in a reasonable amount of time, or the court's hours of operation made it easy for me to do my business. The survey defined fairness in a couple of different ways and assessed this with items such as the way my case was handled was fair, the judge listened to my side of the story before he or she made a decision, and I was treated the same as everyone else. And even before we compiled the results of this study, we were able to see the positive effect that the Provo City Justice Court had on the court customers. One student related an experience that they had while observing proceedings that a young man came in for driving with a suspended license. And he had a bit of an attitude about him, and he was not the most compliant with Judge Romney's requests. And upon finding out that he had driven to court that day, Judge Romney explained to him the consequences of those actions and how this young man was putting not only himself, but also his community at risk, and was not thinking through the consequences of his actions. And this young man's attitude changed because of the explanation that Judge Romney gave him. He was more respectful. And upon filling out the survey, he indicated that he had felt that the proceedings were completely fair and that he had had access to the resources the court provided to him. And once we ran the statistics and actually compiled the data, we had collected 372 surveys. So each of these surveys represented an individual who had come through the court. Even about 50 of these surveys were administered in Spanish. And we compiled the results and ran analyses based on hypotheses that we had formulated from principals in class. And each of our groups presented these as a final project for our grade and as a demonstration of the knowledge that we had acquired. And we all found that the Provo City Justice Court is doing a fantastic job across people of all diverse backgrounds in providing equal access and fairness. For instance, a couple of these charts indicate access across age groups, fairness across gender, and fairness differences between white and Latino court customers. And we were very pleased to have these results, as they indicated what we all know, that Judge Romney and the Provo City Justice Court are doing such a marvelous job. And beyond the results of the study, there were a couple of takeaways that we had that we felt that we should share with you all. As BYU students in that class, many of us were from different areas. I don't think a single one of us was from Provo. We had all come from different areas in the United States, and BYU students as a whole come from different areas in the United States and in the world. And this study really allowed us to ingrain ourselves in the community of Provo. We were able to see Provo residents come into the court and interact with them, understand more about their lives, and become part of the community more than just visitors while we're here at school. We were able to learn more about the court proceedings. As I mentioned, none of us had ever been there before. And so in the event that one of us from the classroom one day needs to visit the Provo City Justice Court, we now have a better understanding of how it functions, and we don't have to necessarily feel the same fear and anxiety that a new court customer might feel when visiting the court for the first time. And finally, it gave us opportunities to learn and to grow. Judge Romney mentioned that BYU students serve as his court interns, and our own Andrew Bodley was able to be hired as one of those interns, which These two experiences have prepared him to go on to law school and use the principles he's learned to benefit the communities that he serves in. I, who ran a lot of the statistics and data, might have the opportunity to do a similar kind of survey with the Utah Administrative Office of the Courts and apply the principles that I've learned to all of Utah in addition to Provo here. And so we would greatly encourage the city of Provo to continue to provide opportunities for BYU students to interact with the community and to serve and apply the things that they've learned and to build up the great city that is Provo. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to learn more about what you've been doing and how that works with the court. I'm so glad that you did that partnership, and I hope that that continues even after you step down. One thing I'd like to say to my students is I'm so glad that you feel more connected with the community. I hope all of you are registered to vote here in Provo because you're here for several years. And if you do that and your fellow students do that, then you can have more of a say in the community as well. So this is one kind of engagement. I want you to do more engagement too. Thank you. And also congratulations on your internships and everything else. That's wonderful. All right, we will now move on to our action agenda. We have an ordinance amending Provo City Code Chapter 14.33A regarding limits on disturbance and clustering requirements in the Critical Hillside Overlay Zone. This has citywide application, and this will be presented to us by Dustin Wright, a city planner.
Thank you very much, Council. So this item is a text amendment that we're proposing to amend an existing ordinance that we have, the Critical Hillside Ordinance. And here's the locations where it's been applied when it was adopted a few years ago along the foothills of the city, and to help protect how development is established along that area of our city. And so in reviewing some of the applications that come through, we've seen a few places in the code that we wanted to add some clarification and kind of help improve this this ordinance to be more clear for those that are utilizing it. And so some of these things that we've addressed are in the definition for what's called the limit of disturbance, or the area within the zone where the development should take place and where it should not. So we added some clarification language to the definition. We looked at making some changes as far as making sure it applies to a whole development and not just specifically to individual lots. So we added clarification language there to help accomplish that. And then in another section in the Critical Hillside zone, we added some language into the clustering of developments to make sure that there's adequate open space being preserved as part of those. So we added a 25% open space preservation area when properties are using that cluster option that's available in that zone. We also changed the 50% base density increase for agricultural properties and brought that in line with the others at 25%, so that they can still get incentivized to cluster developments in these areas, which is something we hope to be able to encourage. And so that's still included in there as well to help encourage that type of development. And with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Are there council questions before we open that up? All right. Thank you, Dustin. We now open this item for public comment. All right. I don't see any online, and I don't see anyone jumping up in the room either. So we will close public comment on this item. And now we're open for council discussion. This item was heard at the Planning Commission meeting on August 23rd, 2023. This is the first hearing before the Provo City Council. So we have this implied motion on the table. Do we have discussion? We did talk about this a little bit at the work meeting, and we've gotten lots of information in our packet on this. So the lack of discussion here should not worry the public. All right. Do any two council members desire to consider this item again at the next council meeting? All right. Okay, I will call for a vote on the implied motion. Councillor McKay is excused. Councillor Whipple, yes. Councillor Ellsworth?
Yes.
Councillor Fillmore is excused. Councillor Handley?
Yes.
Councillor Shipley?
Yes.
Councillor Hoban?
Yes.
All right. That vote is unanimous with 5 in favor and 2 councillors being excused. We'll now move on to an implied motion on a resolution approving appointment of individuals to serve on the Judicial Nominating Commission for judicial vacancy in the Provo City Justice Court. This looks like will be presented by Mayor Michelle Cavusi.
And Director Borgett is on it as well, so he's here
All
to
right.
participate as well. We also have a very important person with us from the state that's going to talk us through the process. All of this is because of our wonderful Judge Romney's retirement. Due to his quick retirement, which is his last day of work is December 16th, we're in a little bit of a time crunch because things have to be posted for 30 days, which we hit that yesterday. The process is moving along. And I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and read in the recommending appointees. And then Jim, if you're okay, if you want to come and talk about process and how it all works, it's really unique. Not very many mayors get to put in a judge. So council, remember what I said to you. I will be saying, help, give me advice and counsel because it's significant. So Vice Chair Whipple and members of the Municipal Council, I am recommending the following appointments to the Judicial Nominating Commission and submit this for the council's advice and consent. Brian Jones. Brian Jones received his Juris Doctorate degree from Stanford University in 2001. He has 24 years experience in the law profession, including experience with the U.S. Air Force. He was hired by the city of Provo in August 2007 as an assistant attorney in the legal department. In March of 2021, I appointed him as the city attorney for the city of Provo. He's our first recommendation. And then our second is Camille Williams. Camille Williams is a longtime Provo resident and a former senior assistant city attorney who served Provo City for over 16 years before her retirement in 2022. During that time, she frequently appeared in Provo City Justice Court and is intimately familiar with its procedures and the type of cases handled there. Since retiring, she runs her own legal services business, does pro bono legal work, serves on the board of a nonprofit that seeks to strengthen society and families, and continues a career-long interest in writing, having published articles in various newspapers, law reviews, and periodicals. So those are my 2 recommendations that I am bringing forward.
Thank you, your Mayor. Do we want to hear on the process part now before we go ahead and approve that? That information might be helpful for us. And please state your name for our record.
Jim Peters. I'm with the Administrative Office of the Courts. I'm the Justice Court Administrator there. So thank you, Mayor, for that those recommendations. And I'm excited that hopefully we'll leave tonight with those 2 appointments. It's the next step in the process. And as has been indicated already, this is something that probably hasn't been done in any of our as long as any of us have had this role. Judge Romney has been on the bench, as he indicated, more than 16 years. And I have to just thank him and all of you. It was interesting what the chamber was saying at the beginning of the meeting, where Provo has this opportunity to impact the entire state, and Judge Romney has done exactly that. He didn't mention this, but not only has he been the presiding judge here in this area of the state for several years, but he served as the chair of the Board of Justice Court Judges. So his contribution to justice in Utah extends well beyond the boundaries of Provo. So it's not going to be easy to replace him, but let me explain the process for doing that. It's rather involved and it doesn't lend itself to simple understanding, but I'll try to talk us through it and then open it up to questions that you may have. So as Mayor Kaufusi indicated, the recruiting period closed yesterday. Typically, we would need at least 9 applicants before we could move on with the process. And if we don't have that many, then we extend the application period. We did get that. Application period is closed, and what we do now is we assemble a nominating commission. And that nominating commission is set forth in statute. It's a group of individuals who come together to review the applications of those who have put in for the position. And what they'll do ultimately, after reviewing all of the applications, is they'll decide who they want to interview. And what their task is to narrow the slate of candidates down to some kind of manageable number, 5 to 7, something like that, that will ultimately be forwarded on to the mayor for her consideration. So the nominating commission includes 2 individuals that you all will appoint. It includes a member of the bar, the local bar association. It includes an appointment from the county, and it includes an appointment from the local mayor's association, which we got from Mountain Land just a few weeks ago. So those other 3 members of the nominating commission are already in place. And between having to extend the application period on occasion and having to get those nominating commissioners in place, this can take months. I mean, honestly, it typically takes 6 to 8 months to put a new judge on the bench. And as you heard tonight, we've got 10 weeks before Judge Romney leaves. So we want to move along with this as quickly as we can. But the good news is, like I say, the application period is closed. And after tonight, we hope to have all 5 commissioners for that nominating commission. The next challenge that we run up against is getting those 5 people together for a 5-hour meeting. And that's not easy to coordinate with schedules as they are. But they'll get together that first time. They'll review 20 some odd applications that have come in. They'll decide which ones that they want to interview. And then we need to set another 5 hours aside sometime to bring those applicants in for their interviews. So the nominating commission by law has 45 days to start and finish its process. But as a practical matter, it may be weeks before we can get them together for the first time. I'm hoping that's not the case, but we'll just have to see. Once the nominating commission has narrowed its pool of applicants down after the interviews, we'll send that slate of nominees, those finalists, out for public comment. And that's out for 10 days, and that allows the public to weigh in. Typically, they're positive comments, but not always. And if negative comments come in, that extends the process even further. Because then what we do is we allow the applicants to respond to those negative comments. And their rebuttal, together with the original comment, goes back to the nominating commission. And that group then decides, based on both sides of the story, whether they still want to advance that name onto the mayor. But once the mayor gets all that information with the applicants and any research that the nominating commission asked us to do, she has 30 days to make a final selection. And then that name comes before you as the city council to ratify that selection, and you have 30 days to do that. So if you take the 45 days that the nominating commission has plus however long it takes to get them to the first meeting, plus the 10-day comment period and her 30 days and your 30 days, you can see that we're well beyond Judge Romney's retirement date. So we'll streamline things as quickly as we possibly can. But once you all ratify this election, we're not done yet either. Before the judge can take the bench, law requires that this new judge go through a new judge orientation that the administrative office of the courts puts together. We've got one scheduled for January 8th. We'll try very, very hard to get to that date. But if not, it may be another month or two before we can put an orientation together. And after that, then I take that name to the Judicial Council for certification. And once the Judicial Council has certified that person, they just complete an oath of office, and then they're ready to take the bench. Now, it's not unusual, of course, for there to be some kind of a ceremony, maybe in a city council meeting, where they don the robe and there's refreshments and there's speeches and all of that. That's nice, but it's not necessary for them in order to hear cases. So we've got a months-long process, but like I say, we're moving as quickly as we can. And I just wanted to provide a brief overview for all of you so that you know what's ahead of us, and see if you have any questions about the process.
Councilor Ellsworth.
Yeah, thank you for that overview. What do you think the gap of time is between Judge Romney's retirement and someone realistically operating in that role?
At a minimum, it will be a month, because he's leaving mid-December, and the soonest we could get the Judicial Council to certify somebody after the new judge orientation on January 8th would be January 16th. So there's at least a month there. The City Council also has the prerogative to select temporary judges as well. That's not something that the AOC imposes on the city. There are senior judges that you can select from. There are sitting judges that you can select from. There was a resolution passed in 2018 that addresses this. It might be something that we want to update so that you have options for coverage while we're going through that 1 month gap and maybe longer. But there are people available that can assist.
Okay. And then sometimes, because our form of government is less common in Utah, sometimes we have questions with state code on when it just says like the city can choose or the city can designate. So if we needed a temporary judge, is that the role of the city council or the role of the administration, the executive branch?
Well, the statute, and you know your form of government better than I do, but it talks about the governing body. And so we've typically run those through the council as a resolution.
Got it. Okay. Gotcha. And then I had another question. I'm trying to remember. No, I think that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so to follow up on that, we're going to have at least a 1 month gap. At least.
Right.
If things go perfectly.
Right.
What kind of backlog are we going to get in the Justice Court with a 1 month gap if we don't have a substitute judge?
Well, I Judge Romney talked about 8,000 cases a year earlier tonight, so I would think it would accumulate very quickly. The good news is that it's probably a less busy time of year to go from mid-December to mid-January with holidays and all of that. But I don't think it'll come to where you have nobody helping with those cases. It's just a matter of getting the approval from all of you and lining people up to help. And historically, in this district, they've been more than willing to help.
Okay, so would we need to make that decision to bring in a substitute judge as the governing body, or does somebody say, hey, get this person in here, you guys, please approve this for us?
Well, and typically what'll happen, a resolution would read so that there's a number of options listed so that, the court isn't restricted to just one person who may or may not be available. But if there's a list of several options, then they can just, coordinate with whoever's available and make sure that it's not any one person that's hearing all cases in the interim. It's probably a number of different judges.
Okay, so would it be fair to assume that you and the mayor's office will continue to stay in close contact with the council leadership so that we can keep this moving smoothly and the court running?
Yeah, as far as
Okay.
I'm concerned.
Okay, good, good. I feel like there are balls in the air and I don't want them dropped.
No,
in
there's
this.
a lot of moving parts to this, and it's even more complicated than I've explained. But like I say, we'll keep things moving as quickly as we can.
All right, thank you so much for helping us understand the situation and our role in that. Are there any other council questions? All right, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much.
All right. John, did you need to say anything? John Borgett, the Director of Administrative Services.
I just wanted to mention that even now, when we have certain situations when Judge Romney has conflicts or goes on vacation, we have situations where we work with that list of pro tem judges to come in and fill in. And so that's something we would want to, and we will come back to the council and with that resolution to be updated. And then Rhiannon would work directly to make sure that we have that coverage.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I see Rhiannon is here. Thank you so much. I understand you're the person who keeps everything running over there. All right. So we have the implied motion on this resolution. Are there any substitute motions? All right. In that case, I'll call for a vote on the implied motion. Vice Chair Whipple will vote yes. Councillor Ellsworth?
Yes.
Councillor Fillmore is excused. Councillor Handley?
Yes.
Councillor Shipley?
Yes.
Councillor Hoban?
Yes.
And Chair McKay is excused. That vote is unanimous, 5 in favor, with 2 councillors being excused. We'll now move to an implied motion on a resolution adopting the 2024 council regular meeting schedule. This will be presented by Justin Harrison, our council executive director.
Good evening, council. Hopefully this last item will not keep you here any later than you want to be. It should be relatively painless. Each year, the council must adopt a regular meeting schedule in accordance with state law, which is then posted for the public. The resolution that was in your meeting packet, as well as the proposed meeting schedule that's before you, is what is being proposed to be adopted. As a little bit of background, council staff has worked with various city departments, most specifically development services, in order to coordinate meetings between the council and the planning commission, just to make sure there's not any overlap, just to facilitate ease of planning commission members, council members, members of the administration, as well as city staff, and there is no overlap. I'll just give a quick shout out to Bill Pepperoni, who's been great to work with, as well as all of the staff and development services, and helping make sure that this can all be scheduled smoothly and not overlap. I guess I would just ask if there's any questions from the council on the proposed meeting schedule for 2024.
I see no questions. All right, I'll open this item for public comment. Would any member of the public like to comment on the proposed council schedule? And not even people who might be on the council next year? This could potentially affect you. Thank you.
I appreciate the fact that there are no meetings after a certain date in December. I appreciate the fact that the first week of April is off for spring break. And that's about all I can comment on.
All right, and that was Becky Bogdan.
Yeah, Becky Bogdan, Provo, Utah.
Thank you. All right, any other public comment? All right. I am now closing public comment on this item. Is there council discussion? Councilor Shipley.
Just wonder if we should make all the budget meetings mandatory next year. Maybe a substitute or amendment to make sure all those budget meetings are not as needed, but required.
If they're needed, then they will be required.
No, they're needed for sure. So
Are you doing this because you won't be on the council next year and you don't have to go to the meetings?
maybe not. It's a great idea.
I do not second that motion.
All right. That is an interesting thing though, because I think some of our budget meetings caught counselors by surprise because it's easy to assume that as needed means it will never happen. So I will have to encourage all counselors to keep track of your calendars and pay attention to emails when they tell you that there is a meeting scheduled. Counselor Ellsworth.
Yeah, I am assuming that the regularly scheduled council meetings are aligned with the Board of Canvassers meeting. You don't have to have extra Board of Canvassers meetings because that would be pretty miserable for people who are here.
We're public servants. Misery is our middle name.
Well, I do think it would be efficient for staff.
Yes. Justin Harrison.
So long as the state does not change election dates again, I believe we will be okay.
All right, Counselor Handley.
Yeah, just one request to you and Chris. For those of us who are going to be here next year, it's very helpful to get this onto our calendars as soon as possible to help do the very thing that Councilor Whipple was talking about, making sure that we're aware of what our commitments are during the year far out. So it's always helpful when it shows up on my calendar magically. So thank you.
Noted. It'll be there as soon as it's adopted.
All right. Is there any other council discussion? All right, seeing no further discussion and seeing as Dave is not actually doing a substitute motion, we will call for a vote on the implied motion. Counselor Fillmore is excused. Counselor Handley.
Yes.
Counselor Shipley.
Yes.
Counselor Hoban.
Yes.
Counselor McKay is excused. Counselor Whipple, yes. Counselor Ellsworth.
Yep.
All right. That is a unanimous vote, 5 in favor with 2 counselors excused. If there's no objection, we will now adjourn the Provo Municipal Council meeting by unanimous consent.